Okay, so today we're going to be making the boys' shirt for the Green Acre set. I'm going to tell you what you need. So you need the two facing strips and the back facing. All right. You're going to need two collar pieces, two cuff pieces for the shirt, two sleeves. You're going to need two front pieces and the back of the shirt. Okay, so let's get started. So, right sides together. We're going to place the shirt onto the back of the shirt. We're going to line at the shoulders. You can pin it if you want. I don't usually use pins, but can pin. We're going to stitch across the shoulders, and then I'm going to serge the seam. If you don't have a serger, you can use a zigzag stitch or an overcast stitch on your regular sewing machine. So that's done. You want to use matching thread. I'm using white so that you can see what I'm doing. And now you want to bring this to your iron and press the seams towards the back. The sleeves are next. You want to take one of the sleeves, and it's going to be right sides together, and we're going to pin it to the arm side. Okay, this curved edge gets pinned in here. The boys and the girls sleeves are the same, except the girls sleeve is gathered. So that top curve on the girls sleeve is wider, and you're going to just do a running stitch, a gathering stitch across the top of the sleeve before you pin it on. And I should mention that the top of the girl's sleeve is only slightly gathered. It's not gathered a lot. And when you're doing the sleeves, it's useful to pin one side, then pin the other side, and then ease it back into the middle. Okay, so now we're going to stitch this top curve of the sleeve, and then we're going to finish the edge. And we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side for the other sleeve. Okay, so right sides together. Alright, so once you serge or finish your edge, and if you don't have a serger or you can't zigzag or whatever on your machine, you could use pinking shears on the edge to finish it off. Okay, so once you've done that, you want to press the seam towards the sleeve. Okay, so that's done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the cuff to the shirt. So you want to take your cuff piece, fold it, right sides, wrong sides together, and then we're just going to pin it onto the shirt, the raw edge of the shirt sleeve. Okay, so you're going to take the open edge of the cuff and pin it against the raw edge of the bottom of the shirt sleeve. Okay. And that's right sides together. You're going to stitch a 1/4 of an inch seam along both edges of the cuff and the sleeve. All right, and then we're going to turn it over. We're going to press the seam up towards the shirt, and we're going to top stitch on the right side, but we'll get to that. Okay, so we've got the cuff sewn on both the sleeves. All right, and you're going to take this seam and press it up towards the sleeve. You're going to top stitch right on that seam. Okay, straight across. Okay, so that's done. So the next step is we're going to work on the collar. So I'm going to move this away for a minute. So we're going to take our two collar pieces and we're going to put them right sides together. Okay, the boys and the girls collar are all done the same way. The boys collar is pointy and the girls collar has rounded edges like a Peter Pan collar. So we're going to stitch down a short side, along the bottom outside edge, and up here. So the collar is stitched. Now you can either clip this curve or you could just trim it down to about 1/8 of an inch from your stitch line, which is what I'm going to do. Don't cut into your stitches. And I'm not going to finish this edge on the serger because it'll make it bulky when you go to turn it. And these are way too small, so they're just going to get trimmed down and turned to the right side. Okay, I'm going to go give that a press, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I gave that a press. All right, you can top stitch if you want around the short edge here and back up the other short edge. I'm not going to. I find that usually if you press it, it holds its shape, so top stitching isn't needed, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to go ahead and do that. Now we're going to add it to the shirt. So you want to leave about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. All right. On both sides. Okay. So the collar, right sides together. Yep, and we're just going to pin it like that. Okay, and we're going to leave that for right now because we are going to end up pinning the facings over it and it will all get sewn on at the same time. So I'm going to move this to the side. And we have our facings here. Alright, so your facings are going to get sewn together this way with the points facing the middle. Alright, so this and this up here is going to be like your shoulder seam for your shirt. So we're going to just pin that together. And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam across both of these shoulder, I'll call them shoulder seams because that's where they're going to meet when you put them onto your shirt. Okay? So we're just going to stitch across there. Okay, so your facing should look like this. Now I'm going to take this over to my serger and I am going to serge this outside edge. You could do a zigzag stitch, an overcast stitch, if you don't have a serger. So that's done. You want to use matching thread. Again, I'm using white thread so you could see what I'm doing. But you want to use, if I was doing this, I'd probably use blue. Alright. So now we're going to get the shirt with the collar attached. Okay, so I guess my camera shut off. Now we're going to stitch the facing onto the shirt. So from the corner here, up, around the neckline to this point, and then back down. Okay, so that's sewn on. So now you want to clip the curve here. Alright. Make sure you don't cut into your stitches. Alright. And then once that's done, you can flip the facing to the inside, poke your corners out. Alright. Okay, so now you're going to stitch all the way around here to hold it in place. So the facing's sewn. So that's what it looks like on the outside. Alright, and it's nice and neat on the inside. Alright. So now the next step is going to be to do the side seams and the arm seams. So right sides together. Alright, you want to make sure that your arm seams are pointing towards the sleeve when you do these side seams. Okay. Okay, so we're going to stitch from the arm down on both sides. And then after you do that, you're going to finish the seam. Okay? Okay, and while I was at the serger, I also serged the bottom of the shirt. And now we're going to turn this up 3/8 of an inch. Okay, now we're just going to stitch straight across the hem. Okay, so that's done. Let's turn our shirt right side out. Okay, now the last thing you have to do is decide what kind of closure you want. Snaps or buttons or Velcro. I did buttons on the girl's shirt. I think I will do Velcro on this one. So you're going to need a piece that's 3.5 inches long by however wide you want to use it. Let me find my Velcro. So here's my Velcro. So one piece is going to go on the outside and the other piece is going to go on the inside. So I'm going to go sew those on and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got the Velcro sewn on. Okay, and you could see here's the difference between the girls and the boys. The girls has buttons and buttonholes, and the boys has cuffs. The girls has elastic in the sleeves. All right, looks kind of like that. Okay, and that's the shirt. Have fun.